Welcome back to Talk of the Town on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
We welcome you back to Talk of the Town for this Monday, January 18th. I'm Gary Stevens. Third Monday of the month. This time we are normally joined by State Senator Roger Victory, the first-term Republican who represents Ottawa County in the state Senate. He joins us via the Zoom connection. Roger, good morning and welcome back to WHTC and Happy New Year to you, sir.
Thank you, Gary. And I always want to make sure that I'm coming through okay. I was always question our connection, so I can see you nodding your head, so we have a good connection. That's a plus.
And of course, our listeners can be part of the connection, not via the Zoom, but via the traditional phone call at 395-1450, 395-1450. Since last we chatted, Roger, you got some extra responsibilities in the Senate.
Yes,
You've
sir.
got a committee chair to talk about.
Well, that is exciting news for West Michigan. I have the opportunity of becoming Judiciary Chair of the Michigan State Senate. That position was vacated by Senator Pete Lucido. He is now the Chief Prosecutor in Macomb County, so he won that election. So that chairmanship was vacated, and I appreciate the leadership team tapping me as that resource. And actually, there's a little bit of history behind that position going back to West Michigan. The late Senator Bill Van Regenmotor held that position for a number of years. He did a tremendous amount of work in that committee to the point that became nationally recognized for criminal victims' rights. And there's a number of legislation that he initiated at the state level that became a national template that helping those victims of crime, that their rights would be heard too. So it's lofty shoes to be filling, and I go back to knowing Bill Van Regenmotor in my younger days, and never in my wildest dreams would I have figured that someday I'd be walking in that committee room, chairing that and that lofty of responsibility after seeing all the great work that a friend of mine performed a decade or a few decades before.
Keep in mind, for those who are not aware, Bill Van Regenmotor from Hudsonville was the state senator to from Roger Victory as we speak. So we had a good chance to chat with Roger. With Bill before he passed away. He was a frequent visitor on Talk of the Town with Juke, and a good man with good ideals. I'm going to ask you a frank question, Roger. Right now, there are no lawyers that are serving in terms of being state senators. First time in state history, with Pete Lucido now becoming the Macomb County prosecutor, nobody with a law degree is among those who are elected state senators. Somebody had to fill the vacancy, I would think, for judiciary, but still, I hope you have some barristers on hand to help you out in that regard.
Gary, that is, I always say the key to success is to surround yourself with people better than yourself. Did that in my business line of work. I've done that when I served as state representative, and definitely in this role of a lot of technicalities and those, we will be relying on those. And as we I'm doing the Zoom on a cell phone because of the other system was already booked with other Zoom meetings. So I've been as we speak today, continue to meet with the stakeholders, being well informed of the situations of our judiciary system in the state of Michigan, and we'll continue to get caught up to speed very quickly in this matter. So,
395-1450. Let's get to the phones. Good morning. You're on the line with State Senator Roger Victory.
Hey, Roger. I think you just lost a whole lot of votes. You changing your mind about everything. You used to be a good guy, but not anymore. Thanks.
All right. Question to the listener is changing your mind about what? Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna be upset, state your reasons. But we do have.
There's been a lot of media play out there on a lot of different issues, and one media says I have a certain position here, and another media says I have another position there. And it was kind of ironic that I can read two different headlines in different media and have a different point of view. So that's why I always believe we need to have a good conversation. That's where I like coming on the radio here, and have been meeting with a number of folks back in the district and listening to it and see if we can move things forward.
395-1450. If you have a question for Roger Victory, he'll be happy to answer it at 395-1450. State House, State Senate not meeting this week in formal business sessions, due in part to what was called a credible threat to the state capitol, based a little bit maybe on the fallout from January 6th in Washington. How concerned are you about your own physical safety in the Capitol and when you are doing business in Lansing? And these threats, you know, it is one thing for state government to take a pause on the side of caution. But another thing, Roger, when the pause comes because of concerns about threats, and it's almost as if the lawmakers are scared to go into Lansing right now.
Well, let me say a big thank you for our law enforcement. We have very good law enforcement right here in Ottawa County. Sheriff Steve Kemker does a tremendous job. That is a big plus. Then when I go to Lansing, we have a tremendous job done by our Senate security team. They have stepped up to the plate and had a trying year, but have passed the test on that component. We have our state police. Tremendous job. I really appreciate the state colonel. He did a call with us on Friday night, just giving us update on the security issues late at night on the agenda, which is very valuable for us as the members, knowing what, where, how. There again, there's a lot of details. He can inform us, but also ensured us if there's a specific risk on an individual, we will be informed ASAP, and the proper protocols will be taking place. And also Lansing Police. So all these agencies coming together, and even with the Michigan National Guard's presence, linking this together, showing a strong force, saying government will proceed forward. And just that is a amazing thing when all these agencies can be linked together, ensuring that we have continuous governance in the state of Michigan.
Therefore, you're not scared about going to work in Lansing with all these threats that might be coming through?
No, not scared, but also I think we've been educated, and that's where the process with this Michigan State Police Colonel and others, making sure that we're aware, we're equipping ourselves of awareness, and just doing proper protocols, such as any good person, regardless where they're at, making sure they know of their surroundings and using decent protocols in place.
395-1450. Good morning. You're on the line with State Senator Roger Victory.
Yeah, it sounds like a big lame duck session.
Okay. Question is, why do you say it's a big lame duck session? You know, some of our callers, they just want to hit and run. Explain why, and then maybe we can get a discussion. But let's move forward. 395-1450. Roger, based on what we have seen in Lansing, a little bit earlier back in April with the guns, the issue there, and then what we saw in Washington back on the 6th of this month, are we getting to a point now where, quote unquote, the people's house no longer can be for the people because some people are taking advantage or liberties of some of this freedom that we have to be able to get into the halls of the legislature or the halls of Congress as in Washington in that regard?
Well, Gary, I think that is a topic that we have to be aware of, and I'm very concerned of that we don't have a knee-jerk reaction. I was concerned actually of the fence that was being constructed at our state capitol. I'm not going to say one way or the other. My point of view is if you can show a strong force of personnel, the capitol currently in Lansing is 3/4 already fenced in because of construction. So my point of view, I think the fence is more for optics, and that could be a catalyst for something to occur. But again, I'm a state senator, I'm a farmer, I'm not an expertise on security. However, as a state senator representing Ottawa County, I will make my voice loud and clear that the Capitol has to be accessible. I believe the Capitol should have an image of accessibility and should not have an image of a state prison. I don't think that's a probably good term to say, but we got to make sure that there might be some short-term things, but as we can move forward and move the country forward and the state forward, that we have let us get back to how the image of the people's house, that people's house may be at the state level or at the national level.
Roger, your thoughts about last Friday, the revenue estimating conference? $3.7 billion surplus. What gives with this? What Eric Nesbitt said it's a one-off and it shouldn't be, shouldn't be expected, but still $3.7 billion plus when we were supposed to get maybe $2.2 billion minus. That's got to be still good news.
That it is a one-off. And my concern is when you see these revenues, how are these dollars going to be utilized? And then we hear, how under the Biden administration, they need to help out the states. Well, if this money comes in, additional dollars, and then setting up programs that are not sustainable, where are we 5 years from now? Now, when I look at the $1.2 billion that's in the K through 12 education fund, and that's generated through sales tax, we have billions of dollars of unfunded liabilities in the teachers' pension fund. What an opportunity to make a down payment on that fund, because people don't realize. I think as we've been doing a lot of these other discussions on other issues, going back to 1 out of every $3 that we generate for K through 12 education never hits the classroom because we're paying off that pension fund that wasn't properly funded decades ago. Well, if we can put a $1.2 billion down payment, we will solve a huge issue going forward. And that's where, again, when we see these dollars available, how do we take these dollars and make sure it's a better state for the future generation? And we have an opportunity there. Don't go for the instant gratification, because boy, I tell you, as us politicians, and we can, we're justified for a lot of criticism, but we shouldn't get this immediate gratification for ourselves, but make sure we have a long-term dividend return for the future generations for the state of Michigan.
Now, wait a minute. If the money, well, the $1.2 billion for the, in this
K through 12, yeah.
K through 12 to pay down the debt, aren't we hearing from some of our Congress people that if we're going to help the states out, we should help the states out with the current cost and not bail them out of being in deficit spending? I know Michigan has balanced budget, so that's not a problem with the state per se, but isn't putting money towards the teachers fund, the pension fund, almost like a bailout of that instead of maybe helping businesses that are hit hard because of what's going on with the COVID-19 outbreak?
Good question. But the difference between other states, they haven't closed these programs down. We've closed the gates. We shut the barn doors. The other states need to shut the barn doors and not let the the cattle out of the gate there, or the horses per se, using some agricultural analogies. So those states who have shut the door, made that hard decision, this is an opportunity for them. But for those states that haven't shut the barn door, you're not going to solve the issue. So there's a distinct differential between those who have closed the programs down and the money is no longer flowing out. Now we in Michigan have closed the door, and now we can pay that debt down.
395.
Brilliant question, Gary.
395-1450. If you have a question for Roger Victory, probably more brilliant than that once I posed, but that's fine. 395-1450. Touching upon the outbreak and businesses down. The pause button is still on for in-person dining through February 1st, and there's been some talk as to the reason why, and the justifiable reasons one way or another. I'm hearing
Gary, do I have a half hour of showtime to go on my frustrations?
But here's the thing, though. I've heard 2 points of view on this. One is that this pause button is more for maybe making sure that the health facilities aren't completely overrun. It's not so much, well, the restaurants are doing their part, but we got to make sure we don't overflow these health facilities. The other point I'm hearing is the fact that with this new strain of COVID-19 that is more infectious than the old strain, we might get our numbers down for a little bit. They're going to go right back up in the month of February as this new strain comes into Michigan.
Yeah. Also the talking point was out from the governor that we couldn't open up until February 1 because it had to take time for the restaurants to get their inventories built up, to get their employees be able to call back. Well, I would challenge the governor's point of view on those talking points that it would take the government that amount of time. In fact, it would take government months to do that. But the private individual business owner, amazing things they can do. And they could do that within I talked to a number of restaurants, they can make that happen within a 24-hour turnaround. And that's what my frustration is from the point of view of the governor. She's placing government values upon the hardworking men and women, independent business community, saying you're not capable of making this happen. I believe the independent, hardworking men and women in that industry can do it in a safe, secure area. We've learned a lot about COVID. We've learned about a lot of protocols, and they're more than capable of getting that done in a short period of time. And they do not need, like how the government operates, a month or several weeks to ramp up. So that's my pushback on the talking points that the governor used.
Keep in mind, Roger Victory, of course, is the owner of Victory Farms. He is a businessman by trade. And I will just leave it at that. And the music says I should leave it at that, Roger Victory. We certainly appreciate you joining us this morning on WHTC's Talk of the Town. Wish you well, wish your family well over the next month. And if all goes well, let's do this again on the third Monday in February. Roger, thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Appreciate it. Roger Victory joining us on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.